All right, welcome everybody to a live episode of Mike's Money Picks. This is going to be a super unique episode because you guys can probably tell if you're watching, but I don't have my usual setup and I don't have my usual co-host. Zach is not here tonight; he had other obligations, so it's going to be a solo show. And also, my dumb self left the charger for my laptop at my school that I teach at today. I literally know exactly where it is. It's plugged into the outlet at my desk. I know exactly where I left it, but it didn't make the trip home, and so my laptop is dead. And so I'm going to be running this show off of the iPad tonight, which is going to be an adjustment because of the fact that I normally, while I'm running the show on the laptop, do the research on the iPad. So now the iPad is running the show, the phone is doing the research. So it's going to be a different setup. But anyway, I am happy that you guys are joining us. It is officially March. It is officially the last weekend of the regular season. We've got conference tournament action for mid-majors going on, and we've got a loaded 12-game main slate that starts at noon tomorrow on DraftKings that we are going to be breaking down. So if you are out there watching us, let us know. Reach out in the chat. Let us know, what do you think about these games tomorrow? What's a game that you're looking at? What's a player that you're looking at? Because this is going to be a fun slate. Just anytime you get these big Saturday slates, enjoy it because it's going to be gone before you know it, right? This is the last big Saturday slate that we're going to have. And next week it is going to be awesome. We're going to have these midday slates. We're going to have the night slates. We're going to have all of these games next week. But this is the last big Saturday slate of the season. And so I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. Let's go ahead and break it down. Let's see who we got out here in the chat. Let me see if this works the same way on the iPad as it does on the laptop. It does. All right. I see we got our guy Huncho out there. What's up, Huncho? Glad to have you here, bud. Definitely happy that you're joining us. Looking forward to this slate tomorrow, and I hope you are as well. But yeah, if you're out there watching, let me know what you think in the chat. All right. So we're going to go ahead and I can't really share the screen on the iPad, which is kind of unfortunate. It means you guys are going to be looking at this ugly mug all show. But we're going to go ahead and start talking DraftKings slate, right? So game number one, which is probably the biggest one on the slate, is Arkansas heading to Missouri. KenPom has it as 84-80 in favor of Arkansas. That is a 164-point total. These two teams have played already this season, and that game was 94-86 in favor of the Razorbacks. That was 180 total points scored in that game. So the question is are we going to see that same level of output in this game that we saw in that first one? And I think that there's one huge variable into whether or not that happens or not, and that is the biggest injury news of the slate. If you are not aware, Darius Acuff of Arkansas is out tomorrow, which is going to make a huge impact on the slate because, let's be honest, DraftKings did the pricing. They weren't pricing these guys based off of, expecting Acuff to be out. So they've got all these Arkansas guys that now are going to take on a bigger role. Acuff's 28% usage has to go somewhere. And so they're going to have a bigger role. They're going to get more shots. They're going to get more looks. And so that is going to really change the math of the slate. The two natural beneficiaries to me seem like Malik Thomas and DJ Wagner. Malik Thomas is probably the one that's going to be lesser owned of the two, but I think he actually has just his case for as good of upside. So Thomas plays the entire season with a 22% usage rate. He also is the one who generally runs the one when Acuff is not on the floor. So that would lead me to believe that, our Thomas is going to be an increased role. The thing is with Thomas, though, is he's already priced at $7,000. So how much more upside can he get, right? Whereas you look down at DJ Wagner's 4,800. And Wagner's already playing a ton of minutes. He already put up 27 DraftKings points against my Horns the other night. And he's playing well lately. And this is no scrub. This is a former big-time recruit at Kentucky, followed Cal to Arkansas. They've been a rotational player for them the last 2 years. This is not some scrub in DJ Wagner. He is ready for a role step up as well. And I just think that when you do the math behind the slate, Acuff averages 38 DraftKings points a game. Thomas normally averages 27. Wagner normally averages 15. You add the decimal points in there, that's literally 81 combined DraftKings points between the three of them, right? And that's not to say that Thomas and Wagner are going to go out tomorrow and combine for 81. But, like, if they did at their current price tag, that's well over 7x value in salary. So just the entire math of the slate has changed because of the ACUP injury. I think that you probably need to be looking at playing Thomas and or Wagner in your lineups tomorrow. I think that Wagner will be more popular, but I absolutely think that Thomas is a guy that should get interest as well. I am not as interested in the ancillary Arkansas pieces, though. Like Billy Richmond, he's not like this high usage, like go-to scorer kind of guy. I don't really think he's going to get that big of a boost. Now, the counter argument would be he already put up 38 DraftKings points against Missouri, so he's already shown the ability to get home and score against his opponent. So I think that makes him make a little bit of sense. I think Malik Ewan, as a guy that they can just kind of dump the ball down into in the low post at $4,700, had a huge game, 27 DraftKings points against Missouri the first time. So I think he makes a little bit of sense as well. But Arkansas, just the entire math, the entire gravity of the slate has changed. I think Acuff being out is going to make Wagner one of the highest owned players of the entire slate. Now, if we flip over the Missouri side of this game, like Arkansas is not like this, oh, don't play your guys against Arkansas kind of matchup, because Arkansas ranks 20th in tempo, 47th in defensive efficiency. So you can target Arkansas, and really you can target bigs against Arkansas. So you look at what bigs have done to Arkansas recently, like Midas Titus went off against them Wednesday night before fouling out, because that's what he does. The Florida front court combined for about 100 DraftKings points against them. For A&M, Rashawn G had a really good game. And then the previous game against Missouri, Mark Mitchell goes for 45 DraftKings points. So to me, that would be priority number one on the Missouri side. Is like, hey, if you're looking to stack this game up, Mark Mitchell, $7,800. He's been kind of dud in the last two, but he's been efficient. He just hasn't gotten the normal shot attempts that he normally does, hasn't gotten the normal rebounds and assists that he normally does. Okay, fine. Now he's up against a good matchup, pace-up spot against Arkansas. I think that it's the time to fire him up. And then when it comes to the Missouri guards, like, I feel like this is one team where, like, everybody's got their guy. Like, having conversations in the Discord, there's people that like Robinson, there's people that like Stone. Barrett's my guy. I've played T.O. Barrett multiple times this year. He rarely disappoints. Against Arkansas previously, he only played 19 minutes, which is a little bit weird for him. And he put up 14 DraftKings points in those minutes. So, like, you extrapolate that rate out, and if he plays 30 minutes, he could very easily put up 25 DraftKings points. So, definitely got to have interest in that game, though, between the high total and the injury news. And like I said, I expect Wagner to probably be the highest owned player on the slate because of the way that the news broke down. All right, that is game number one. Like I said at the top, y'all, I'm sorry for this different setup today, but appreciate you guys that are still out there watching. I see we got our guy Jeremy in the chat. Yeah, I was really disappointed to see that, because I was all ready to pick North Carolina to make a run in the NCAA tournament with Caleb Wilson. I really thought that, believe it or not, the injury to Wilson had caused, a little bit of development out of Dixon, a little bit of development out of Seth Trimble. Like, you were getting, and Bogovats had a really good game Tuesday night, I think it was. Or was it Monday night? I can't remember when they last played. Like, you were getting more out of those guys. And Wilson returning was really going to kind of be like the stamp that made that team like a real contender. And, yeah, it's just disappointing. And the weird part is I don't know if you've read this story, but apparently it was not the hand that he hurt previously. He dunked in a workout, and he hurt the thumb on his other hand. So that's really weird. I don't know what's wrong with the dude's hands, but he might want to get that checked out. And then I see we got our guy Jeff in the chat. Yes, we are getting going. Like I said, I know it's a different setup tonight. I know it's a little different, but we're going to try to get through all 12 of these games. So game number 2 is a much uglier game environment. Boston College taking on Notre Dame. Ken Pom has it 70-67 in favor of the Irish. That is a 137-point total. And I am going to be super honest with y'all. There is one player from this game who is going to make my player pool, and that is Jalen Harrelson of Notre Dame. Big reason why is not because he's like this massive minutes guy. He only played 22 in the last game, still put up 27 DraftKings points. Only played 28 minutes in overtime against NC State, still put up 42 DraftKings points. He's just an incredible usage player, right? In that game against Stanford, 47% usage rate in the 22 minutes he was in. In that game against NC State, 39% usage rate in the 28 minutes that he was in. So you're just getting just this insane off-the-chart usage out of Harrelson, and it really diminishes the usage that you were seeing out of the Shrewsburys and the Sertas and the Imes of the world. Even though Imes, I still think is not a terrible play either because of how cheap he is. But I think that Harrelson is the guy that I'm interested in on the Notre Dame side, just because he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. And again, what I was saying with the Arkansas guys, with Acuff's injury, the whole gravity of the slate is changing. So that way, everybody's going to play these cheap guards, because there's a few more that we're going to talk about later that are cheap that are playable. And I feel like the mid-range guards are going to go totally under-owned. So you're probably going to be able to play Harrelson tomorrow at fairly low ownership. What do you guys think out there in the chat? Like, let me know. You guys playing Harrelson? Are you guys going to just lock in Wagner and go from there? Or, is there somebody else you're looking at? Because I'm not going to lie, on the other side of this game with Boston College, there's just not a lot that interests me, man. Like, the last time these two teams played, it was 132 total points scored. So, like, it's just hard to be interested in that type of game environment for Boston College. They really play through pain in hand, but, like, I don't know. I just, like, if I'm being totally honest, all season long, have you ever regretted not playing somebody on Boston College? Like, have they given us a single DraftKings winning performance through the entirety of the season? I think the answer is no. And Jeff, I see in the chat, he's with me. Yes, Harrelson, just that usage rate, man. I'm telling y'all, that's just, it's worth so much, because it really, the best part is like, people, when they make DFS lineups, they look at the box scores. They look at the game logs, right? They're not looking deeper than the numbers. They're not looking to see that Harrelson has been playing less minutes because he's back from injury, and that he has this insane usage rate, which has allowed him to score so much points. So the usage rate, I'm chasing that. I'm hoping other people don't, and I really think that that's a good look for tomorrow. All right, game number 3. Virginia Tech heading to Charlottesville to take on Virginia. This is a rematch of one of the games of the year. You guys remember back on New Year's Eve, back when I was watching my Longhorns beat Michigan in football? Good memory. Virginia Tech and Virginia were playing one of the games of the year in college basketball. And that game went to triple overtime. I don't think this one's going to be the same case here. KenPom has it projected to be 78-67 in favor of Virginia. Now, for the Virginia Tech side, I have a lot of interest in Nicholas Abdulas on this slate, because it seems as if he's back. So we kind of heard rumors like all ACC season that he was nursing an injury. He was playing through something. They didn't want to use him on the ball as much because he was hurt. He was banged up. All these rumors, and it kind of bore itself out in the play, right? Like he didn't look good. But there's been a shift in the last 3 games. We've gotten more ball dominant Neo. We've seen bigger usage, 24%, 33%, 22%. We've seen bigger DraftKings performances, 34, 30, 31. We've seen full minutes, 35, 30, 33. And he's back getting assists, 8, 5, and 3. The shift has happened, right? It's back to being Neo, full strength, his team, his offense. The pricing has not shifted, and he's $6,100. So this is another example of kind of the same way with Harrelson, where I think a lot of people are going to build through the values and the studs, and you're not going to see a lot of ownership on a guy like Neo, especially considering that Virginia is on paper a very tough matchup. But the previous game against Virginia, 34 DraftKings points in 49 minutes from Neo. So I am here for Neo on the Virginia Tech side. And I really not interested in anybody else on the Virginia Tech side, if I'm being honest, because of the fact that Virginia is a really tough matchup. And I don't really have a whole lot to consider there. Now, on the Virginia side, it's a little bit interesting because Virginia, they have like all these guys, but they don't have a guy, so to speak. Like, they have a whole lot of guys who are good players and can take over a game, can run hot for a game or two. But they don't have like the one ball dominant isolation, go get me a bucket type of player. And that makes them hard to play in DFS because you never know who to play, right? So Tice DeRitter is sitting there staring me in the face at $6,900. I think he's a little underpriced for what he's shown us this season. The last time against Virginia Tech back on New Year's Eve, 49 DraftKings points in 45 minutes. If I were to play anybody on the Virginia side, that would be my guy, is Tice DeRitter. You guys know, long-term listeners of the show, you guys know I love Jakari White, what he gives this team, but he's up at $4,700. You need a full minute game out of him to hit value, and that's not really been happening. Malik Thomas and Jakari White have kind of been vulturing each other. So that's a little annoying. Sam Lewis hadn't been playing much at all lately. Like to me, it's just Tice DeRidder or bust on this Virginia side. And yeah, see the comment in the chat. TSS Max Crosby to the Ravens. That is big, especially considering I'm going to be very interested to see what they gave up because the Ravens, traditionally a team that builds through the draft, traditionally a team that doesn't splurge in free agency, doesn't make blockbuster trades. I'm curious to see what they gave up. That'll be really interesting moving forward. All right, game number 4 of the day is Houston heading to Stillwater to take on the Pokes. KenPom has projected this one to be kind of a blowout, and I think it will be as well. Well, not as big a blowout as you might think. KenPom's got it as 81-71 in favor of Houston. That's a total of 152 points. Now, on the Houston side, I've got to admit I was wrong earlier in the week. I have been bashing Joseph Tugler for his inability to play full minutes in games because of him fouling, right? And then he goes against Baylor, he plays 30 minutes and puts up 27 DraftKings points. So I was wrong on that one, hand up. What that showed us is that he has a lot of utility if he doesn't foul, right? Is there a need for him to foul against Oklahoma State? I don't think so. Oklahoma State's going to be playing with 2 backup big men. Their starter, Parsa Fowler, is out for the season. So I think with Oklahoma State being with backup bigs, Tugler should not need to foul them, so that way he can stay on the court and he can dominate, because I do think that you can have this Oklahoma State team in the front court now that they're down to their backup bigs. So I do have a little bit of interest in Tugler, and I have a little bit of interest in Chris Senek for the same reason. Kingston Flemings is also an interesting play. Like, we know he's the guy for this Houston team, right? 27% usage rate, 33% assist rate, like numbers off the charts. But you look at his game log, he has not done all that well in blowout games. So you really have to be thinking and hoping that Oklahoma State keeps this close enough for Flemings to see max minutes in order to deliver a good performance. So that would be my one reservation with Flemings, is we do need the game to stay close. So if we want the game to stay close, does that mean we want to play somebody on the Oklahoma State side? Well, last game, they came out with Fowler injured, and they started Benjamin Ahmed. Played 17 minutes, put up 20 DraftKings points. That was against UCF. That's not against Houston. They also played backup big fella Andrei Vukovic, 24 minutes. He put up 25 DraftKings points. If it wasn't against Houston, I would really be interested in both those guys. But the fact that it is Houston, I just generally don't like playing front court players against Houston, because Houston's going to muck the game up. Houston's going to slow it down, and Joseph Tugler will punch you in the face. So I just don't really like the idea of playing bigs there, but I do got to admit that Vukovic and Ahmed, both at $46 and $4,100, look like pretty solid plays. I'm not interested in anybody else on this Oklahoma State team, though. Anthony Roy, good player, elite scorer, but he ain't going to be scoring that much against Houston. Kanye Clary, elite peripheral stat guy. Not going to be putting up that much peripherals against Houston's sub-350 tempo. So let's move on to game number 5. That is UConn taking on Marquette. This one is a little bit interesting because Marquette has basically been like a team that we want to pick on, right? They've been a team that we want to play guys against. But there's a little issue with that when it comes to UConn. All right? KenPom has this game projected to be 76-66 in favor of UConn. The last time these two teams played, it was a blowout. UConn won 73-57. The problem is that UConn, very smartly, does not play their players full minutes in blowouts. And so you get lines like where Terrace Reed Jr. against Marquette put up 35 DraftKings points in 25 minutes. That's an insane fantasy point per minute rate, but you're not going to get a max performance unless he's going to play 30-plus minutes. So I think Terrace Reed should be in your GPP player pool for that reason, because if Marquette does keep it close, if this game does stay interesting, Terrace Reed, 30-plus minutes, he could put up 50-plus DraftKings points. He's got that kind of upside. Silas Demery, peripheral stat king, going up against Marquette, one of the fastest, worst defenses in the Big East. Previous game against Marquette, 21 minutes, 26 DraftKings points. Really good fantasy point per minute rate, but he's not going to see the max performance, the ceiling performance, unless he sees more minutes. So that would be kind of my reservation of playing the UConn guys in this one is like, hey, they're not going to get their max unless they're pushed. And I don't really want to play anybody on the Marquette side because Marquette, they're only playing 5 guys. That's the good news. But do you really want to play a 10K Nigel James going up against UConn? I don't. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in that. I'm just being honest. So do you really want to play a banged-up Chase Ross at $7,200 against UConn? I don't. So that's kind of where I'm at with this game is like I kind of want a little bit of sprinkling of Terrace Reed. I want a sprinkling of Silas Demery, knowing that the game needs to stay close for them to hit max value. The other thing I will add for UConn, Braylon Mullins has kind of been a bottom of the Big East merchant. He's kind of had his best games against bad teams. So could he have a good game here? Maybe. We'll see. All right. Game number 6. We've got South Carolina heading to Ole Miss in what is truly you could have left this game off the slate DraftKings game for this slate. I don't see a reason why this was included on a 12-game slate. I think they could have very easily not included it. So the projection, according to KenPom, is, hold on, I got to find it. Here we go. 74-69 in favor of Ole Miss. That is a game total of 143 points. It's not great. And on the South Carolina side, there's not really a whole lot to love because you got Max Price, Michi Johnson going up against the slow slog that is Ole Miss. They're one of the slowest teams in the SEC. They're 258th nationally in tempo. And I don't really want to play Max Price Michi against that. You've got Mike Sharpjumps, peripheral stat king, but he's kind of seeing less minutes lately. You've got Norton Capiche, who kind of randomly is back in the rotation at $4,100. If you want to roll the dice there, I wouldn't fault you for it. Like I said from the top, like this slate's going to have some very chalky, cheap guards. So if you want to be different, roll the dice on a cheap Norton Capiche, there could be a little bit of an ownership discount there. And then Elijah Strong, we've seen come for some nuclear performances this season. We've seen Ole Miss be very vulnerable to bigs this season. But is he going to play the minutes? So I just think that there's really, you can cross off the South Carolina side. The Ole Miss side is interesting because Ole Miss, there's kind of a glitch in the system on DraftKings. They have this random Vanderbilt Ole Miss game sitting there for both Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. And it kind of seems to be the same stats from their meeting earlier this season, but like it's bringing the Ole Miss players' prices down, especially the ones that didn't play well in that game. It's weird. So you got Ilias Carmodine. He's $6,800. Had a ceiling performance against LSU. I don't really think he does that here. You've got Malik Dia. Had a ceiling performance against LSU and Florida and Mississippi State. Could he do that here? I think there's a chance. We've seen South Carolina get battered by bigs this season, including Alex Condon, including Matas Vokatitis. So I think that Malik Dia could be in a pretty good spot for a GPP at $6,500. And then the other guy I'll highlight, Eduardo Klafke. I think this is where you're really seeing that glitch in the price tag effect because he had 25 and 34 in the last 2 games. Prior to that, he returned from an injury against Florida and played 3 minutes and put up 0 DraftKings points. And prior to that, he had 3 straight games over 24 DraftKings points. That's really good, especially for a player who's priced at $4,100. You look for a way to get off of the cheap Wagner chalk. Well, there's your guy right there potentially, right? Like he's been really good lately, and I think the DraftKings really dropped the ball on this price because of whatever's going on with the Vanderbilt Ole Miss game. Now, Klafke is not the highest usage player in those 3 games he's played recently, averaging a 12% usage rate. That's not optimal, but he's a decent rebounder. He can get you some assists, and he's been out there a lot in the last 3. So I do think he could be a playable cheap value opposite the Wagner chalk. All right, so we are 6 games down, y'all. We are halfway there, which is crazy. So, y'all let me know. Is there anybody that I've missed? Anybody we want to talk about again? Anybody we're looking to in the second half of the slate that you guys like, that you guys are going to be getting in your lineups that we need to know about? Because
I'll be honest. I think that there's still a lot of good names to talk about. And I don't really think that we got a whole lot from those first 6 that we're going to be putting in our lineups. I like the Arkansas guys. I like Mark Mitchell. I like Harrelson. I like Klafke a little bit. I like Neo for Virginia Tech. But, there's a lot of guys coming up in these next games that we're going to want to be getting in our lineups. So let me know what you guys are thinking if you're here in the chat watching with us. I've been battling a little bit of a cold, so I'm going to take a quick Gatorade sip here. Gatorade, if you're watching this, sponsor me. All right. Next up, we got Vanderbilt taking on Tennessee. These 2 teams have played already this season, and it was quite the rock fight, 69-65, 134 total points scored. That's not a great game environment. And in this one, KenPom has it projected to be 76-72 in favor of the Vols. That's a 148-point total. That's pretty solid, right? That's not bad, all things considered. But for the Vanderbilt side, I don't think this is a great spot. They've got everybody back. Everybody's max price. They're going up against a team that they put up 65 points against last time. So I just don't really think that this is a great spot for Vanderbilt, guys. I'm not really feeling it, y'all. Duke Miles, I love him as a player, but 7,900 in this economy, I'm not here for it. And the bigs for Vanderbilt, when they have a good matchup, they can be really good. I don't think that Tennessee is a good matchup for these Vanderbilt bigs. So let's talk about the Tennessee side. You got Jacoby Gillespie, $9,500. Big reason why he's up there so high is because he dropped about 60 DraftKings points against Alabama. Why did that happen? Well, because Nate Ament got injured, and he's listed as doubtful for this game. You're getting a Gillespie here that he really wasn't needed much in a blowout win over South Carolina. But when he was needed in that game against Alabama that came down to the wire, he put up a massive performance, right? And in that game against Alabama, he had hold on, I got to find it. Come on, KenPom, I need you low for me. He had a 33% usage rate against Alabama. That could continue again here because if Ament's out, you just don't really have a whole lot of shot creators on that team. And Gillespie's going to be asked to do a lot. So I think Gillespie absolutely in play. Yes, he did only put up 30 against Vanderbilt the last time, but the last time had Nate Ament. This time, you're probably not going to have Nate Ament. So he's going to have to shoulder a lot more of the scoring load. I also think that an interesting play here is JP Estrella. The last 2 games with Ament, they're not similar players. But the games without Ament, Estrella's taken 13 shots at both of them. And we've seen Vanderbilt get victimized by bigs, especially big bigs, all season long. So I don't mind the idea of playing Estrella at 58. And I really like the idea of playing Amari Evans at 42. In the 2 games that we've seen since Ament got hurt, 28 minutes, 19 DraftKings points. 32 minutes, 22 DraftKings points. He's 4,200. So if he does either of those again, you're getting almost a 5x value game out of him. So I really like the idea of going to Amari Evans. Now, he's not this high usage, high shot rate player. That's not what he is. That's not what he does. But he's getting a lot of the Ament minutes, including he got the starting nod when they played South Carolina earlier this week. So I really like the idea of getting Evans at $4,200. Add him to the list of chalk value plays right up there with DJ Wagner. So I think that a lot of people are going to be starting their lineups with Evans and Wagner and just going from there. And I wouldn't fault you for doing that. Just know if you do that, it's going to be a pretty highly owned start. So you're going to want to look to get different somewhere else. And a way you can do that is by playing guys in this next game. We've got SMU taking on Florida State. SMU has been a horrendous away from home team this season. And I am curious if that's going to continue as they make their trip over to the Sunshine State. KenPom has it as 84-82 in favor of SMU. That's a game total of 166 points. It's one of the highest on the slate. SMU is likely to be without B.J. Edwards in this game. He's listed as doubtful. What does that mean for us? Well, in the 2 games since B.J. Edwards has been out, Boopy Miller has had over a 30% usage rate in both of them. I kind of think he's run bad a little bit in terms of turnovers, in terms of the fact that he hasn't gotten any steals, and he still put up 34 and 37 DraftKings points. And I kind of think he's running bad. So I think this is a pretty good spot for him in a pace-up spot against Florida State, who's 33rd nationally in tempo. I think this is a pretty good spot for Boopy Miller as a high-priced option to put at guard. And like we've said time and time again, you have a ton of value at the guard position on this slate to be able to pay up for guys like Boopy Miller. Jerome Pierre, in the 2 games since B.J. Edwards has been out, 34.5, 47.5 DraftKings points, playing pretty much every minute, taking at least 17 shots in both those games, averaging about a 26% usage rate in those 2 games. So I definitely think that Jerome Pierre is going to get some interest from me. Sam Yigatoglu, I don't think I said that correctly. He is a big fella for them. We've seen big fellas either do really well or really poorly against FSU, really no in between. 6,300, wide range of outcomes. I wouldn't fault you if you played him. Corey Washington, it's 4,900. He's taken 10 shots in each of the last 2 games. Problem is he's only made 6 total. He's just kind of running bad in terms of his shooting. He's missed his last 7 threes. So if we get a good offensive game out of Washington, we already know he's a really good rebounder. He'll get you some assists and steals as well. I kind of don't mind the idea of playing him at $4,900. That's a real cheap option, and it gets you off some of the other cheap values, right? Jermaine O'Neal Jr. got the start. Yes, that Jermaine O'Neal Jr. He making me feel old, y'all. Which quick side note, who is the basketball player out there that the junior makes you feel the oldest? Because I'm going to be honest, for me, it might have been Jameer Nelson Jr. when he was at Delaware and then TCU. Jameer Nelson Jr. made me feel really old because I didn't think Jameer Nelson was that old. Anyway, Jermaine O'Neal Jr. He is $4,000. He's played at least 23 minutes in each of the last 2 games. He's not like this high usage player. He's not even like a center like his pops. But he's $4,000. He's going to play a decent amount of minutes. Like I said, you're looking for other cheap values to get off of the cheap chalk. There's your guy right there. On the FSU side, they're really hard to love from a DraftKings perspective. And the reason I say that is because really it's like they play Robert McCray, and he's this massive usage, massive assist guy. And then everything else kind of revolves around him and changes around him. And there's no real consistency in anybody else. But McCray's pretty darn consistent. He's $8,000. He's going to probably score between 33 and 40 DraftKings points, especially considering that this is a pace-up game. I don't mind the idea of getting to him. But, other than that, it's hard to fall in love with any of these FSU guys. Chauncey Wiggins is pretty solid at $5,000, especially with this being a really high-paced game. I don't mind that. And then the other guy that I will mention is, where did he go? Thomas Basong. Oh, hold up. Thomas Basong is listed as probable. Okay. DraftKings, get the probable designation. You can put a Q there. You can put a P there. And also you can put a D there for doubtful. So Thomas Basong, $5,000. Played at least 27 minutes in the last 2, which has coincided with the injury to A.J. Swinton. So Basong seeing boosted minutes. SMU is a front court that I don't really fear. And he's put up 22 DraftKings points in each of the last 2. As long as he plays, I think he's worth a look. Kind of reiterating the theme here, there's going to be cheap chalk guards. You're looking for ways to get off of it. There's one of them. All right, game number 9. We got 4 more to go, y'all. Louisville taking on Miami. Louisville has already announced their big injury news today. Mikael Brown Jr. is out. The line, according to KenPom for this game, has it as Louisville, 79-78. That's 157-point total. I don't know if that's going to be the actual betting line because I think Mikael Brown Jr. might move that line. But on the Louisville side, it's the same story as Tuesday night when they were on the slate, y'all. Or was it Monday? No, it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday, right, when they played Syracuse? Yeah, I think it was Tuesday. Ryan Conwell is $8,100. That's too cheap. Ryan Conwell, when Mikael Brown Jr. is out, is like a 35-plus DraftKings point scorer. He's a 30-plus% usage player. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He put up 42 Tuesday night against Syracuse. Ryan Conwell is one of the easiest, safest clicks on this slate, $8,100. And with there being all the value guards out there, he's really easy to get to. Javon Hadley at 69 had a huge game against Syracuse, but it was really efficiency-based. He was 7 for 9 from the field, made all of his threes. I kind of feel like that's a little bit chasey to go back to him. McNeely and Woolley were the 2 guys that really benefited in terms of minutes played and in terms of shots taken with the injury to Mikal Brown. I don't mind going back to either of them. If you ask me my preference between the two of them, I think McNeely has more upside because he can kind of just be this flamethrower from three. But I think Woolley on paper is the better play, considering he does so much more in the peripheral stats than McNeely. So I do think both of them are going to end up making my player pool. But that's probably it for Louisville, though. They did randomly decide to start Vangelis Zugris at center last game. He only played 11 minutes. That's probably it on the Louisville side for me. For Miami, this is a really good pace environment. I just don't really like, if I'm being honest, I don't really like playing the Miami guys in DFS. Like, Malik Renew is like, I've just played him so many times from his 7 years at Indiana that I don't know, I just don't like playing him. And that's just me. If you like playing Renew, knock yourself out. I just don't really play him a whole lot. And then Trey Donaldson, on paper, looks like a pretty good play, but he's kind of expensive. Like, he's $8,200. I'd way rather just play Conway. Or I'd way rather play Boopy Miller or Jerron Pierre. Or Mark Mitchell, even. So, like, I don't know. I just don't think he's the best of a bunch of options in a similar price range. And then True Washington, I was not entirely right and not entirely wrong about him Tuesday night. He did feel a little bit chasey to me. He's still got 2 steals. He still shot very well from the field, still put up 23 DraftKings points, but I still think he's running a little bit hot. I still think I'm going to be fading him. And I don't know. Like, that's really the only guys that I think are playable. Shelton Henderson, talented freshman, not really doing a whole lot lately. Ernest Uday never shoots the ball, and you guys know how I feel about that. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at on the Miami side right now. Game number 10. Arizona State traveling to Ames to take on Iowa State. This one, to me, kind of has blowout written all over it. So we got Iowa State at home taking on Arizona State off of their biggest emotional win of the year. Prime letdown spot for Arizona State to me, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Ken Pom has it as a 15-point line. Iowa State 82-67. That is a total of 149 points. I think that they're going to beat them by more than that. I really do. On the Arizona State side, there's just not a lot to be interested in taking on Iowa State. They're probably a full fade for me. I just don't think I'm going to play anybody from this team. On the Iowa State side, we just saw Kansas play a really up and down game against Arizona State, where Peterson had his best peripheral stat performance of the season. More on him a little bit later. That's a little tease for you. And so why would a guy like Josh Jefferson or a guy like Tamin Lipsey not be interesting here? I think that they're both worth looks in GPPs. I don't think they're my favorite plays in the world, but I think that if I'm building out a lot of lineups, there's a mini max tomorrow. If I'm building out a lot of lineups, there are 2 guys that I probably want to get some exposure to because there's a chance that they could have a ceiling game. The most interesting trend with this Iowa State team, though, is by far the icing out of Killian Torrey. Basically, they've decided, like, look, you are not a added bonus to us offensively. You're a liability offensively, and so we're not going to play you as much. And what that's led to is Jamarian Bateman has played 23 minutes in each of the last 3 games. Took 10 threes on Monday night against Arizona. Is that an aberration, or is that around to stay? I have said this about Iowa State multiple times. They need to find more shooting. They need to find more floor spacing and change the gravity of their offense if they want to be like a national championship contending team. Jamarian Bateman playing more minutes might be a way they could do that. He's $4,300. So if you're looking for, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but a cheap value guard that will help you get off of the cheap value guard chalk like DJ Wagner and Amari Evans, then Jamarian Bateman's an option at $4,300. All right, we've got 2 games left. Game number 11. We've got Kansas State taking on Kansas. This one also might get ugly. Ken Pom has it as 84-67 in favor of the Jayhawks. That's a game total of 151 points. It's a pretty solid total. The Kansas State side, they're projected to score 67 points. That's it's not great, especially considering PJ Haggerty did not play last game. He's like their only scorer. He's listed as probable for this one, so he's expected to play. That's good news for Kansas State. I have no interest in him in DFS. Yes, he could absolutely go nuclear flamethrower, but I'm not interested. Nate Johnson had a huge game without Haggerty in the lineup. He ain't going to sustain that when Haggerty's back. I have no interest. Bigs against Kansas have kind of been a thing recently. I'm not saying that the bigs for Kansas are bad defenders either, but just like bigs have been able to score fantasy points against them, whether it's by real points, rebounds, whatever, right? So Kamari McGriff played 30 minutes last game against West Virginia, which was his high for the last month and a half. If you told me he was going to play 30 minutes again, I'd for certainly have him as a big part of my player pool. As it stands, I don't know if he's going to make the cut or not, but I do want to get out there that he's pretty interesting because of the bigs against Kansas angle and because of the fact that he played a ton of minutes last game. I don't really have a whole lot else about Kansas State. On the Kansas side, y'all, I'm playing Darren Peterson tomorrow, and I'm playing a lot of Darren Peterson tomorrow. And I might as well be like I could be setting that money on fire for all I know, because you never know when he's just going to be like, yep, I'm out. It's like if you've ever played my career on 2K26, where like you go up, whatever, and you just want to get to the end of the game to get your VC, and you ask out for the rest of the game. That's kind of what Darren Peterson does in real life. So that could happen here, but he's $8,000. He's had back-to-back 40-plus performances, 5x value. He's taken 39 total shots in those two games. He put up 14 combined rebounds and assists against Arizona State. He put up 8 combined rebounds and assists against Arizona. He averages 6 combined rebounds and assists. My complaint about Darren Peterson all season long has been that he's a pure scorer who doesn't put up peripherals. And in the last 2 games, he's put up the peripherals. And he didn't really get a price bump. And there's plenty of value on the slate to fit him in. And he's going up against Kansas State, who ranks 7th nationally in tempo. If there's ever a spot for Darren Peterson, this is the spot. But at the same time, who's to say they're not going to go up 19 and he's, all right, I'm out. So that's what concerns me. I think that there's a chance that if you play Peterson, you could just be lighting money on fire. I wouldn't recommend them in cash games, but I think as a GPP target, I'm going to be rolling him out a lot because I love what he's done recently with the peripherals, and the matchup is just like chef's kiss. Like Kansas State's bad, real bad. So next game up, which is the last game of the day. Wow, I can't believe we're already at the last game of the day. We have got Cincinnati taking on TCU. This is a huge bubble implication game because Cincinnati's trying to play their way on it. TCU is trying to play their way from in the field to out of the field. 2 teams going in opposite directions in Fort Worth. This should be fun. KenPom has it as 69-66 in favor of TCU. They're pretty much even in terms of their actual power rankings. So, like, that's just the home court talking, right? The interesting thing with Cincinnati is they've had this offensive explosion in recent games, and it has been centered around 2 things. One, they have really found their starting lineup. They hadn't had it all season long, and they finally set in stone, this is our starting 5. We're playing these guys 30-plus minutes, and that's what we are going to do is we're going to play them, right? And it's been Jizzle James and Day Thomas who kind of alternate minutes at point and can be a little – it's been as the wing option, who's been pretty good. It's been Baba Miller as this versatile 4 who does a lot. And then the big development for Cincinnati has been Mustafa Cham. I've learned it's pronounced Cham, even though it makes 0 logical sense. That should not be pronounced Cham, but I digress. Mustafa Cham has put up at least 32 DraftKings points in 5 straight games. He has been a revelation for this team. He's done it against good matchup, bad matchup, any type of team. He's been productive for 5 straight games. Is it going to continue? Well, here's the problem with going up against TCU. TCU has 3 forwards that will draw fouls like nobody's business. The only advantage for Cham is that he's a legitimate 7-footer, and TCU's guys run about 6'8". So he's going to have the height advantage. He shouldn't have to foul. So I do think that Chom is an interesting GPP play. I do. But with that, I kind of think he's the only one from Cincinnati that I get to because you never know what's going to happen with Thomas and James. The game total here is 135. It's not great. So I'm kind of out on most of the Cincinnati side for that reason. On the TCU side, they also have a big who's really turned the corner in the last 2 weeks, and that is Xavier Edmonds. 40 DraftKings points in the last 2, 34 in 5 of the last 6. It's pretty solid. He's $7,600, and he's not even like playing like 35 plus minutes. He's doing it on like these like 25 to 30 minutes, which is pretty good. Problem is that 2 things can be true. He fouls a lot and he draws a lot of fouls. So he brings in a wide range of outcomes. But he's turned into this team's highest usage player. He's completely usurped David Punch. I think Edmonds is going to get a little interest from me. I think Brock Harding gets a little interest from me, just as just the peripheral stat king that he is. If this game ends up shooting out, he's only $5,900. He could end up being a pretty solid value play. I think that that's worth a look as well. And then I see Slim Dad in the chat. Yeah, I think that Day Day is interesting. Day Day and Jizzle kind of like, you just never really know which one it's going to be their day. And, you know, it is, if it is Day Day's day, no pun intended, then he can end up with a really good performance. So I don't mind that. And then also saying that like a Tiger stack, I do as well. I think that it's going to be a very viable strategy to just stack the crap out of that Arkansas-Missouri game. Like I'm talking play Thomas, Wagner, Mitchell, Barrett, maybe Ewan on the Arkansas side. I think that there's just a way you can get to 4 or 5 pieces from this game if you want to. But all right, y'all, that is actually going to do it. We made it through all 12 games. I know it was a little bit different tonight with having the different setup. I know it probably stunk just having to watch me the whole time instead of, having the DraftKings screen up or the Google sheet up. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here tonight, y'all. Unless you guys got anything else you want about in the chat, any other questions, any other comments about the games, I appreciate you guys joining me. Very much appreciative of that here on a Friday night that you choose to spend it with me. And hopefully we gave you guys all the goods you need to win some money tomorrow playing DraftKings and FanDuel DFS. Also, quick little plug, hit the like button before you go. Helps me out a ton when you guys do that. I really do appreciate it. Helps the channel grow so much more than you could ever know. And then also, if you want more from me, remember, join the Fantasy Corner Discord. The Fantasy Corner Discord is where I talk all things college basketball DFS. It's also where my co-host Zach posts the Google sheet, which he's already gotten for this slate. So if you want access to that sheet we normally have for the live show, it's in there. And then if you want to know who actually makes my DFS lineups, head on over to the Patreon, post my core plays for every single college basketball DFS slate. And that's actually what I'm about to start writing right now is the article for my core plays for tomorrow's slate. I give you a hint, DJ Wagner is in. Give you a little quick tease, one freebie there. But anyway, that is going to do it here for us tonight, y'all. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit different, but yeah, the whole point is to help you guys, right? So hopefully I was still able to do that, even though the setup was a little bit different. I did overnight a charger to Amazon, or from Amazon. So I'm going to be back on the laptop, and I hope to be back recording tomorrow night, Saturday night, to talk about the Sunday slate, because we're going to have a huge Sunday slate, because we've got the finale of Arch Madness. We've got the Big South Tournament final. We've got, I believe, the WCC, and we've also got my Charlotte 49ers, on the slate. My alma mater is on the slate for like the second time this season. So a team that I have intimate knowledge about will be on the Sunday slate. So if you're subscribed, you'll know when that Sunday episode goes live. Is there anything else I was going to add? I think that's about it. I will say I enjoyed very much there being midday college basketball today. Had it on the iPad at work. Had some really good lineups in the early slate. And I hope you guys enjoyed that as well, because next week we're going to be looking at a lot of it. And next week we're going to have a ton of content coming your way. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you can be here with us for all of that. But that is going to do it here for us tonight, y'all. Thank you guys for joining us, whether you watched us live or on the replay. Hopefully we gave you guys everything you need to know for tomorrow's slate. And just like that, we're going to be on out of here. Best of luck to you guys on the Saturday slate. Thank you guys for watching us, and we will see you guys next time.